How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here. Figure 4 Daily, very special show here today. We got two big guests. Tom normally joins us on Wednesday, but he was busy doing MLW. And, of course, Lance Storm here every Friday. So we figured, what the hell? Let's put everybody on the show at the same time. We got Lance and Tom here. Lance, how are you today?
I'm doing great. The snow is starting to melt.
That's good. Yeah, it's snowing over there. How's the weather in Vegas, Filthy?
It's beautiful. But I was not prepared, Brian. I thought we were going to get some intro music.
I never got it from him. Even after I asked.
You don't have any music on your computer ready to go?
We don't do it for the Lance show. And
I started eating.
Yeah, I know.
You went right into it.
I saw that.
Sorry.
So are we downgrading them to the B minus players now then if they didn't get
They
the
may
music
be. I don't know where the hell this thing is.
Well,
they said they were going to send it.
They're B plus now, so they would first have to go to B first,
see.
And then B minus, correct?
B
but I mean, we
players.
could downgrade them all the way to D if we want.
We could. I'll give them. Maybe they don't have enough time. You know, people different schedules. Could be nighttime where they're at. Who knows?
Well, they are in Nova Scotia, I believe.
Yes. All right. Listen. The first thing we got to talk about here today, since the whole reason you're both on the show here is Lance wanted to talk about Jon Jones with Filthy, and so hey, here we go. We could talk about Jon Jones. So Lance, I'll let you kick it off.
Well, yeah, I was going to plan on discussing it with you a while ago, and we got bumped somehow and didn't get to it. And, you know, I've been a anti-drug guy for a long time, and I've, you know, boycotted or stopped watching UFC a while ago due to some drug testing shenanigans, and I think this is probably the biggest and most absurd. And Dana White's comments pissed me off, and knowing Filthy like I do, and the fact that he pretty much got we're sticking to the letter, we're throwing the book at you, and for some reason Dana thinks there's some science that proved John's intentions were good. I just thought it's a big giant pile of horse shit, and I would imagine Tom probably agrees with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I am now 100% anti-drug testing. I don't think that anybody out there should be telling me or anybody else what they can and can't do. I just had 2 years of my, what could be considered physical prime in some ways, or competitive prime, taken away from me due to standards that aren't upheld across the board. And it sucks. It's sickening. It screwed my life over for 2 years. Who knows what I could have done in the past 2 years? You know, I mentioned this to Brian. I mean, this changed the entire course of my life, the way that I was strung along and, you know, treated like I don't even know, like a second-class citizen, but I don't know that they treat anybody like a first-class citizen.
So basically, when Lance is talking about what Dana White said, I mean, my presumption is that the reason that he said the science proved that Jon Jones had no intention, it's because the number was so low, right? His sample size was so tiny, like the picograms, but that was the exact same thing that happened to you, Tom. And if I recall correctly, you were told it was the lowest level that they'd ever seen. Is that right?
Well, I don't know about that, but it was a very, very low level. Oh, yeah, I think perhaps the scientist when I was
exactly
in L.A.
So, I mean, wouldn't that be the exact same thing? Like, clearly your intention was not to cheat if the level is in the trillionth of whatever?
Yeah, because it has such a short shelf life as well. So it was like, you know, a comedy of errors.
Yes.
Somehow led
And
to
that's
this
the
cataclysmic event.
That's the thing that really gets me. And again, as much as I'm anti-drug, it's like I'd be more apt to agree with Tom with, why don't you just don't test at all? Because the whole point to drug testing is supposed to even the playing field. But if you're not going to apply that test in an even fashion, it makes it worse. Where at least if you just go, do whatever the hell you want, guys, you just got to fight the day of, at least then Tom knows where he stands. And,
yeah, exactly.
You know, and with, you know, Tom had really, really trace levels of ostarine. And there's been people in the past that have had that as well that got off because there was, you know, there's been meat that has been tainted. Tainted ostarine has happened. Now, Tom couldn't
Oh, that's
produce that.
clenbuterol, but you're right. There have been a lot of tainted supplements that have ostarine in them.
Yeah.
So
Tim Means was one case which he got his sentence reduced. Sean O'Malley right now is going through the same thing. And let's see the public opinion on him. It seems like he's already gotten off, off with most people's, I guess, didn't set off most people's ire. And it's the same exact situation that I was in.
Yeah, and that's where they pretty much threw the book at Tom. He'd never failed before. He's always filled out his forms accurately. There's been no problems whatsoever. But they went, it's in your system. Sorry, bud, it's 2 years. You're shit out of luck. And if they did that with everybody, it's at least fair. It would suck for Tom. It's 2 years of his life. But, well, there's a letter of the law here. You're on the wrong side of it. Screw you. But under that, there is no way, shape, or form Jon Jones can get under 4. And to overlook his previous drug issues, I know I heard the story of, again, there was a tutorial or something from USADA that they were supposed to take, and he had someone else take it and sign for him. Yeah. So it's like he's violating rules. He's not following and obeying rules. And
dude, he promised he'd never do it again, and then later he did it and admitted it.
And to give him anything less than the minimum or maximum even is just straight up going, the dude's making us money, we don't give a shit. And for Dana, that's the thing too. If Dana had just came out and said, we hired a third party to do this because we didn't want to be accused of bias, so we're going to accept whatever the hell the commission and USADA or the arbitrator come back with. If they give him 20 years, we'll observe it. If they give him 20 minutes, we'll observe it. And just wash your hands. But he came out defending it and saying that there was science behind it that proved Jon Jones is being, fairly treated with this 15 months. And I was just like, no, the only science here is that he had something in his system and he couldn't find a tainted supplement to explain why it was there. That's the science. And to say anything else is an insult to all of the clean fighters, anyone that's even going to try to say that this is a fair thing. And that's where, at least, again, I was an anti-drug guy, and I had to compete, cosmetically with all of the people that did drugs in pro wrestling. But at least I knew where I stood. The companies I worked in did not have a drug testing policy. So at that point in time, it's like, in some of the companies, they were hoping guys were on stuff. In other companies, it was like, well, you do what you do, we don't care. And it's like, at least then it's my decision and I know where I stand. So if a guy gets hired over me because he's all jacked up, well, that's a decision he made. It's within the rules of employment that I'm under. But to throw these rules out here, punish Tom to the absolute maximum letter of the law, and then turn your back on a guy just because he's making you more money, what does that say about your sport other than it's a complete, fixed, rigged game?
Tom, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. So, if UFC, like Ultimate Fighting Championships, were responsible for testing everybody and handing down these punishments or lack of punishments, then it's like, okay, well, Jon Jones makes him a lot of money. That's why they let him off.
Well, UFC hires USADA.
That's my question. Hold on, let me finish my question. If that were the case, then that's like the deal. But they don't. They hire USADA to do this outside testing. So the question would be, well, what the hell does USADA care whether Jon Jones gets 4 years or 18 months? Do you believe that the answer is, maybe they thought if we give this guy the full 4 years, it's possible that UFC is going to end their relationship with us and sign up VADA or something? Why else would they care? What difference does it make to USADA whether he gets 2 years or 4 years?
Well, that's exactly it. I think you nailed it right on the head. They are paid by the UFC to conduct this testing. They're an employee in many ways of the UFC. So if they caught no one, that would be an issue. If they catch everybody, that would be another issue. So instead, we have a situation where people are selectively tested or selectively not tested. Jon Jones tested once, I believe now.
Cormier at 10.
Since this entire ordeal. And there's just so many inconsistencies across the board. It's a joke. I mean, the incompetence in many ways from the UFC, and it's not even just this situation. I could go through a laundry list of things that I have personally had to deal with from UFC employees that are just like the absolute worst situations. One, I was training to fight Chris Weidman, and about 3 or 4 weeks out from the fight, I get a call from the medical staff at the UFC saying, "Hey, we don't want to alarm you, but you tested positive for hepatitis B." Well, you don't want to alarm me? Well, that sounds pretty alarming. So they send me to get more tests done, and it comes back that it was a false positive. But it came back 2 weeks later, leave me 1 week before the fight to train. And in reality, what had actually happened is they had gotten the results a week prior and failed to notify me for a full week.
Dude.
Okay. I went to the UFC Performance Institute one day. I can't remember what I was doing, probably rehab for my shoulder or something. And they have you go to the airport and they have the airport kiosk where you can check in. They have one of those now, and it's set up for USADA where you can enter in your information. And lo and behold, Jeff Nowitzki's there. Forrest is there, and I'm there. So I say, hey, I'll be the first one to try this thing out because I've got a trip coming up. Guys, I'm going to Europe with the U.S. Armed Forces Entertainment, the AFE. I'm going to Europe with them on a trip with some other fighters, and I need to input my information. So I begin to do so, and lo and behold, can't find some of the places, some of the locations that they gave us that we're going to be at. I say, hey, Jeff, what should I do here? He goes, just put you're in Europe. Like, what? I was, hold on. I already have one whereabouts failure because I was in Canada for a wrestling match and they showed up at my house and I got in trouble for that. And now you're recommending I just put Europe on there? And he's like, oh, well, maybe you should put more information. It's like, what? You're the fucking liaison for this thing? Like I have the foresight to be like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe I should be inputting more information after your advice there. I was basically told arbitration. Going to arbitration was not going to help in my case.
That's my favorite one.
Because I had no substance to point to.
Yep.
Well, what? Like, neither did Jon Jones.
I wonder if they told him arbitration wouldn't help.
That's the other thing. What is the cost of this arbitration? Has this ever come out? Because I know it's not cheap. So what are we talking, $30,000? You think I have $30,000 laying around in the hope that I'm going to be able to fight in 12 months instead of 18 or 2 years? You know? I mean, the like I said, the inconsistencies across the board with the way that the fighters are treated by the UFC. It sucks. USADA is in on it. The entire situation, the whole thing is corrupt. I've now been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, Bryan, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for a contract for a fight. Lo and behold, this thing is nowhere to be fucking found. Right? This Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz 3 fight, it's coming up in 8 weeks. I've been told for 6 weeks that the contract's coming. It hasn't shown up. You think I really want to go and dip my toes back into the pool with California after they failed to do their job? After they failed to do their job with Jon Jones and just let the UFC and USADA do whatever they wanted with the situation instead of doing their job? What the fuck is a commission there for? Can somebody please explain it to me? Is it anything more than just a cash grab? Because I don't think it is. You have the New York Athletic Commission telling people that you can't have Khabib fight Paul Felder because Paul Felder is not ranked. And then you got CM Punk, who can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag, being put in there in the UFC with no amateur experience, no fights. That's what the commission's there to stop. That's what it's there to safeguard against.
It's all about the money, baby.
I fucking hate it. I hate MMA.
Hey, well, on that note, I did a poll. There's a big fight tomorrow.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes.
Wait a minute. I take that back. I don't hate MMA. I love the sport of mixed martial arts because if you look outside of the UFC into some of the other promotions, you will find a plethora of great entertainment. If you listen to Wrestling Observer Radio from, was it Wednesday night?
That's right.
With Dave talking about Ryzen.
Yeah.
He did a great job of capturing the essence of what they did, but there's no way he could capture the essence of that show. So there's great stuff out there. Tomorrow, KSW. It's more Pride than Pride ever was is going to be on. You've got big jacked up Polish rappers fighting bodybuilders. Then you got a 4-man tournament of elite fighters at 185. I mean, those shows are great too. It's just stuff outside the UFC is awesome. And we get so caught up. It's exactly like WWE and wrestling. You have this homogenous product that's at the forefront of it, and it sucks.
Well,
and all the good stuff's outside of it.
I have to get you guys' predictions for tomorrow. Conor Khabib pay-per-view buys under 1 million, 1 to 2 million, 2 to 3 million, or above 3 million. Lance, you go first.
Over 1, but under 2.
Over 1, but under 2. Well, you're right here in the middle of our poll, 50%, 1 to 2 million. Tom, your prediction, my friend.
Over 3.
Really?
Wow.
Really?
Go big or go home.
Are you just going big or go home, or do you actually believe it'll be over 3?
No, I voted in that poll too, and I said 1 to 2, but it was a tough choice between 2 to 3. But I figure, I actually think it'll be 2 to 3, but because I didn't vote for it in the poll,
Yeah.
now in this case, I'm just going to go.
I mean,
above and
seriously,
beyond.
like, if it's 2.1, then that's the 2 to 3 million. So that's kind of the problem with this poll. It
Well,
only let me do 4 options.
The other problem is, who cares?
Well, over 2
who
million
cares what
people
my
it's looking like
opinion
right
of-
now.
Who cares what my prediction of the buys is? I mean, it's inconsequential in so many ways.
All right, let's talk a little bit of wrestling here. I want to talk about some of this. So, the fallout of the Brie Bella situation we talked about last week. Liv Morgan is cleared. She's wrestling tomorrow. Daniel Bryan tweeted about his wife. I know you have some thoughts on that, Lance. The floor is yours.
Yeah, and I have a world of respect for Daniel Bryan, but when I saw his pleas for everyone to leave his wife alone, I literally groaned. And this is the women's empowerment movement. Having your husband fight your battles for you doesn't make anybody look good. And the thing that really got me hot, I guess, is when he made the plea to stop cyberbullying. And I'm like, we're celebrities on television. We need to be able to suck it up and take a bit of criticism. It's like, it's social media. As an adult and as a celebrity, mute and block who you don't want to listen to, ignore it and move on with your life. Everybody in wrestling has been told they're the shits and nobody likes them. You just block those idiots. There's trolls. And if Brie can't handle it, or Daniel can't handle Brie getting criticized online, then maybe she's not ready to be a celebrity on television. It's like, there's grade school kids that get cyberbullied, that didn't ask for the attention. They're just trying to go to school and get through life. And all of the kids in their school are bullying them online. And to a 10-year-old kid, that's their whole world. And some kids are pushed to suicide over this horrific cyberbullying. Comparing that to a bunch of wrestling fans saying Brie's the shits because she knocked somebody out, I think is really lame. It's like, you're an adult, deal with it. And she should be able to deal with it. It's like, there's probably not a day that goes by that someone online doesn't tell me I'm stupid. It's like, all right, whatever, it doesn't matter. And you and Dave covered this. It's like at the live show in Seattle, no blowback whatsoever.
None. Zero.
Because Twitter isn't the world. Instagram isn't the world. It's like, it's the world of just band jumping of outrage. And as soon as there's something to be a little bit outraged about, a bunch of morons online are going to jump on the bandwagon and say Jinder's the shits because he knocked out Finn Balor. Fire Jinder, fire Jinder.
Well, I will admit I did that. I was very mad.
But
Whatever
again,
happened to the days of that getting you over, huh?
No, those are the
Went in
days.
there-
That did get him over.
that got Jinder. Well, good Jinder.
It got
over
him the
with me, I
title.
guess. Yeah, good point.
But Jinder had to just take it, and it's like, ignore the critics. And remember when Seth Rollins broke Cena's knee? Bret Hart came out and said he was a menace to the business and he's unsafe. And Seth sucked it up and moved on with his life. So Brie knocked out Liv. It was an accident. It was her fault. Shit happens. You know, put on your adult suit and move on with your life and set the example that confront bullies head on and don't let them bother you. Be a strong person that doesn't let critics ruin your day. Don't play the victim when it's just a bunch of idiots online criticizing you. And that's where, too, and this is where, again, I deal with it quite well because I have a very elevated feeling of self, if you will. The only way it's going to bother you if you think it's true. So if a bunch of people online are saying you're dangerous and not good at your job, you shouldn't be there. If you honestly believe it's not true, you should be confident enough to stand up and go, I made a mistake. Everybody does. I'm not a menace to the business. They're just idiots. And that would be my recommendation to Brie. If she's really feeling bad about it, then maybe there's more fault here than people are thinking. And I may get heat with Daniel, Bryan, and Brie over this, but we can't let online trolls rule your life, and you can't, play the victim card all of the time. It's like you got criticized. Who cares?
The irony that somebody on this program right now also happened to get kicked in the face during a series of yes kicks is crazy. What happened, Tom?
I got kicked in the mouth last night.
During the yes kick spot. Yes. Were you wearing a stuffed bra or what happened? How did you possibly miss your chest?
I don't know. That's a good question. I've pondered this since it happened.
Would you like to name this person so I never work with them?
And so we can bully them online?
Shane Strickland.
No!
Yes.
Oh my God. I love Shane Strickland.
Yeah, so do I.
Wow.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy the kick to the face that much.
Did you give him a receipt?
Come on, Brian. I'm a professional.
Dude, yeah,
fighter.
that's what professionals used to do. Are you kidding me? Yeah, and what the hell's up with nobody challenging you to roll? And you had a call out the other day, if I recall correctly.
No, okay, that was
tell me what's happening.
That was from an article. I was asked if anybody by Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful.com. He asked me if there's any guys out there who challenge me to roll before the matches. Like, I guess he's expecting, it's like 1930s. And
sure, yeah.
Everybody's wondering if they got what it takes to get in there with the shooter. No, nobody's doing that. They're in the ring calling spots.
Yeah, they're smart.
Seeing if they can bounce off the ropes, stuff like that.
Did you tell them there's two men, Wang and Bryan Chico Alvarez, have rolled with you?
I've rolled with plenty more than that.
Actually, Wang did in fact kind of call you out.
Okay.
I mean, he did. He got murdered, but he tried.
Why does Wang get so much airtime?
I don't know.
These shows. I don't know him, really.
He was man enough to get in there and roll with you and get slaughtered.
You don't hear me talking about my buddy Rob Sharkey.
You may as well. Why not?
Huh?
I hear you talking about your other buddies who don't like me. Okay.
Well, you know him.
We got more to talk about.
Anyways, Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston called me out. That's who it was. He said, hey, Tom, I'm going to be down at the dojo with Sensei Jason tomorrow. You got to come down there at 10 a.m. We're going to roll. So I showed up. It was nowhere to be found.
Oh.
Nowhere to be found.
Oh, my God.
I heard hours later he showed up in a wife beater, a stained wife beater covered in beer with a bandana on.
I'm going to get him on to talk about this.
Yeah, the king. Ask him about the time he tried to trade with me and backed out.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever heard the stories of the old Portland territory?
No.
I think is it Jesse Owens or Don Owens was the promoter?
Don Owens was a promoter.
And I'm getting it secondhand, but I was told that if not him, the booker or whoever in Portland, was a mark for shooters.
Yes.
And he used to pay the boys extra money to, in the beginning of their matches, shoot.
Yes.
And when someone managed to hook the other guy, he would just signal to the ref and, the one guy won. Then they would finish their matches and he would pay them extra because he was a mark for seeing the guys shoot. And he was keeping track on who the real shooter in his territory was. And it didn't take the boys too long to decide we're just going to work the shoot and take the extra money.
Yes.
Because shooting's too much work. And they worked the promoter into thinking that they were shooting and they got an extra payday out of it.
Absolutely true, and it's incredible. It's just incredible.
I was born too late.
Yes. Okay, Raw ratings, Lance. These horrible Raw ratings.
Yeah, and I heard you and Dave talking about it. And I started thinking about it. And, you've mentioned that, we've got the 20-minute cancer segment, for lack of a different description. We got the pediatric cancer stuff, which, it's nice with the kids, but I want to watch my wrestling show. It's not a segment I really enjoy watching. And now we've got the Susan G. Komen segments. You got 20 minutes of basically public service or PR, depending on what you want to call it. And then how many segments do we get on a week of Raw promoting and talking about the Mixed Match Challenge, which nobody's watching?
Yeah.
It's just, we'll get a mixed match to hype up the Mixed Match Challenge. We'll get promos about Mixed Match Challenge. And I'm like, these are like 3 segments a week that don't pertain to me and I don't care about. And then I started thinking about it further. We're going to this Australia show, which to me, I don't know about you guys, I can find out what you guys think in a minute, but it doesn't feel like a regular pay-per-view. It just feels like a one-off show in a foreign country that I might get to watch. But every single Raw championship is in a 6-man tag. There's no matches on Raw that are even really important. The women's champion is in a 6-man tag. The Universal Champion is in a 6-man tag. The IC Champion is in a 6-man tag. The World Tag Team Champions are in a 6-man tag. It's like, what on Raw of any importance is actually being promoted on Raw right now? Like, why would anybody watch?
Hey, because it's another 4.5 hours of content, my friend.
Well, the Super Show is, but like on a Raw, if you eliminate the segments that don't pertain to you, all of the Mixed Match Challenge stuff, all of the pediatric or Susan G. Komen cancer stuff, there's like a third of the show that's filler, and then most of the other angles are building to 6-mans that don't really matter. And even the Undertaker Hunter thing, it really just feels like an angle we need to get out of the way so we can get the Shawn Michaels return a month later. It's like, there's some stuff on the show that's good, but it's like, I can't think of anything on the show that really has any purpose right now.
Lance, if I can interrupt, it's not about the Shawn Michaels return, it's about the Kane return. Go on.
It's the big mayoral return.
Yes. When every now and then I'll be talking about these shows with Dave, and this always becomes an argument. I don't know why. It's semantics, but I always say these international shows are glorified house shows. And when he hears glorified house shows, he has to argue it, that it's not a glorified house show. And like, it's a glorified, that's what the word glorified means when I say a glorified house show, okay? Yeah, there's going to be 60,000 people there, and they spent millions and millions of dollars from Saudi Arabia. But like, if you look at the greatest Royal Rumble, okay, I understand that you're not going to have a 50-man Royal Rumble in a house show. That's why I didn't say it's a house show. It's a glorified house show. But if you look at those shows, I mean, how often do you actually see something of import happen on those shows, right?
Yes.
You rarely see a title change. If anything, like, you see some sort of angle that's going to lead to the next domestic pay-per-view, right? I mean, it's a glorified house show. And if you look at the Australia show, what is the Australia show? It's a glorified house show. Maybe Samoa Joe's going to win the title. Like, I think he should win the title, but I've been thinking that for months now. I mean, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they just do a match and, like, no titles change. Or maybe, like, the Cruiserweight title or something like that, because the guy's from Australia, but they're just extra shows on the network. And I don't know if this is true, but I feel that they feel that because it airs at a weird time, a non-American time, they're not going to do anything of major import there, because fans aren't going to watch it live, and they may or may not be watching it on the network later. That's what I feel. That's why I feel it's a glorified house show.
Yeah, I agree. It's a standalone live event that everybody gets to watch, which is pretty much the definition of a glorified house show. It's going to be a great house show.
Hopefully. I mean, who knows?
I hope to God they put Buddy Murphy over in the opener for the title.
Well, it's his hometown, Lance. You know how that works in WWE.
Do you have to? I'm
Squash.
pretty sure I've told you the story. When WCW did Nitro in Australia, we had a kid from Australia in the power plant, and they sent him out for the dark match before we started Nitro. And he went out there. He's got an Australian flag. He's got a kangaroo on his tights. I didn't see it, so I'm a little suspect. Someone told me that he threw a boomerang from the ring out into the audience.
No way.
And it went around and came back and he caught it. I didn't see it, so I don't know. But he did have a flag and a kangaroo on his tights. They beat him in the opener.
Of course they did.
And when I asked Terry Taylor, it's like, why did we beat the local kid in the dark match? He went, he's not local. He's from Perth.
Oh, my God. Dude.
So hopefully they'll put Buddy Murphy over because he's probably going to be extremely popular. It'd be a great start to the show. And I'm looking forward to the
You
show.
know what's funny? Let me just say one thing about this, by the way. This kind of ties into UFC. So, Tom, everyone can talk about this. How many times have you seen a UFC show? Or forget UFC, Tom. Bellator. Or any mixed martial arts event, okay? And there's a guy in the main event, and it's his hometown. Okay? What's the end game there? Well, the end game is hopefully the guy in his hometown has a very, very impressive victory, and they can make a star out of him there in his hometown where it's going to get a tremendous reaction, right?
Yes.
Like, you ever see Joe Silva ever say, man, we're gonna book Tom in Massachusetts or where the fuck you're from, and we hope he gets killed because, we need some heat next time we come to wherever.
The best example is Joe Lozon. Look at his booking. Put him in Boston and gave him some scrubs.
Exactly. Because it's awesome when a guy's in his hometown and he wins and the fucking place goes crazy. And wrestling, it's all about, if you're in your hometown, dude. I mean, it's not his hometown, but like, they're talking about Aberdeen when Daniel Bryan's in Portland, which is literally exactly in the middle of Seattle and Portland, but I guess they thought it was closer to Portland. He gets beaten. It's just what they do. Anyway.
By Shelton Benjamin.
By Shelton Benjamin, of all people.
Well, I will say this. The last fight I had against Corey Anderson was here in Las Vegas, where I live. And I lost that fight, and I would attribute it due to its proximity to my house and the fact that I went through my normal daily routine. It just felt odd. So perhaps that's what's happening to all these competitors. They're going home. They're at they're seeing their family. They're in a relaxed state, and then they have to go out there and fight, and it doesn't pay off.
Tom, you haven't been watching any of the Mae Young Classic, have you?
No.
No.
You're
Lance,
missing a lot of great commentary.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's the fucking worst commentary of all time.
Well, I heard the Mako Satomura and Mercedes Martinez match.
Yeah, what'd you
Quite
think,
good.
Lance?
I enjoyed that match. I thought it was really good. I didn't think it was...
You fall in my camp, basically. A really good match, but like I don't quite see what everyone else saw as it being like a blow-away classic that will be watched in 20 years, according to William Regal.
Yeah, I read William Regal's tweet, and I can't imagine this is a match I will look back on in a year, 5, 10, or 20.
This guy goes to like PWG and stuff.
Yeah, again, I think of the, Flair Funk I Quit match, which I still remember to this day. But it was really good. And on the commentary, it's a bit of a defense of Michael Cole, perhaps. It's like, the dude's probably really busy, but...
Then have someone else do it.
Well, that would be good. But
They're a billion-dollar company. They can't find another guy that likes women. Have Ed do it.
Oh, Jesus, don't do that.
Fuck, he'd be better than Cole.
But it's almost like every line he says...
No way.
If it was in a vacuum,
Tom's really
fine.
having to think about this for a while. You thought about it, didn't you?
Yeah. I was like, there's no way. But I at least gave it some effort. Yeah.
Exactly. There was at least like an argument.
But I wonder if it was a case of, okay, there's these 32 women, these are the matches tonight, and it's just he made a note of some, a bunch of sentences that would make sense pertaining to each person, and then he just randomly pulls them out and says them.
Yeah, but for fuck's sake, one of those sentences you write down is that Rhea Ripley is the most athletic girl in the tournament.
Well,
Even if she hadn't been in a match with Casey, that's a stupid thing to say.
Oh, I'm not defending it, but if you only took that 5 seconds of the drop kick and that sentence, it's like, okay, that's a valid thing to say.
No, it's not. She drop kicked a 5-foot girl.
I know, but
That's a low drop kick.
Here's a big, strong woman that's being the powerhouse, and then she threw a good drop kick. So saying she's a great athlete is not a stretch, as long as you have no idea who else is around and what's going on. If you only
He didn't even say good, he said the best.
Well, again, if you'd only seen that 5 seconds of wrestling and had no knowledge of any other existence in the world but that 5 seconds, you'd go, wow, she is impressive.
Lance, if Okada threw a drop kick, Casey could hit the ropes twice underneath him when he's in midair. Rhea Ripley did a drop kick to the face of a 5-foot girl. You don't even have to be athletic to do that. Ed could do that.
But that's why I'm saying...
It's a low drop kick.
If your entire existence is that 5 seconds, you have to assume no other prior knowledge
Lance,
of
this
anything
is an insane
ever.
argument right here.
Oh, it is, but I think that's almost what we're getting to with the commentary on this show, where, there was the one match where he just mentions that, this woman, had her first match ever at Mae Young Classic last year, and he just said it and nobody thought about it. And then the very next match, someone else did the same thing and they're ranting and raving about it, and it's like, okay, why is it a big deal now but not before? It's just like, well, this is just the random fact I need.
How about Taynara Conchi, the veteran of the Mae Young Classic, here in her second match? Or maybe it was her third.
I think she was in last year, so it was her third. But
yes, veteran.
That's where, too, it's like, isn't about 2/3 of the women in this tournament, weren't they all in last year?
Yes, they were. Yes.
So many of them were. And so it's everything has to be absorbed in a vacuum, it seems, and that's odd. And also too, and I like them both, and again, I've been a supporter of women's wrestling for a long time, but it seems like almost every match, either Renee or Michael Cole will ask Beth, what does it mean to these girls to be in this tournament? And it's like every match, it's like, well, tell us what it really means to these women to finally have this platform. And I'm like, they had this platform last year. Can we just accept that you're all good now and we're having matches and this is an important tournament? And, like Whitney said, it's like, I thought we evolved a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, she was appalled when she heard this, called the women's evolution. They've now evolved to being able to wrestle.
They're bipedal.
Yeah, they were quadrupeds up until 2016 or whatever, when Stephanie invented it.
They finally evolved into full functioning humans.
Yes, yes. Hey, Tom, how was MLW?
Fun.
Somebody told me Marco Stunt got killed. That's not true, is it?
Oh, my Lord.
I did see the Doomsday device.
Crap.
That was
The Canadian destroyer off the shoulders?
Oh, my God, that was awesome.
Apparently, they just beat the snot out of that poor little kid.
Dude. We got to keep him alive for another month here, this poor kid.
These MLW shows, you get everything.
No shit.
Shows. You get hardcore matches. You get Jimmy Havoc fighting Sami Callihan in a spin the wheel, make the deal match. The main event was LA Park versus PCO 2018.
Yeah.
Me and Shane Strickland. Tommy Dreamer versus Brody King. The aforementioned ACH, Rich Swann, and Marco Stunt versus the New Heart Foundation. So, you get a variety of different wrestling styles on these shows, and I think that's one of the best things about them.
So do they know what they're doing as far as monthly from now on? Do you know anything?
As far as what?
Like, are they changing the schedule? Are they going to Saturdays? When are they doing this? How many are they?
Some days are Saturdays, some are Thursdays. They just announced that they will run back-to-back on WrestleMania weekend, Thursday and Friday. Friday will be headlined by Battle Riot 2. How cool. I get to win 2 of those in one year.
That's right. I saw that, yeah. Roosh is debuting soon.
Roosh is debuting, yeah. So a lot of cool stuff happening.
It's kind of a weird little, kind of a weird segue, but I haven't seen it yet, but last night's Impact, it's very much like what you described. You've got Sue Young and Kiera Hogan, so you have a women's match. You've got the build to Johnny Impact versus Austin Aries, which is like just your classic world championship match. You've got La Parka, not LA Park, La Parka versus Eli Drake. And then Murder Clown versus Joe Hendry with Grado. What the fuck is that?
That's what sounds like my dream match.
It sounds incredible. Hey, the best of all worlds. All right, let's do some plugs here. Lance, you go first, the school and everything else.
Alrighty, Storm Wrestling Academy. Come to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and learn in the ring from me. You can follow at Storm Wrestling Academy on Instagram. You can go to the website, stormwrestling.com, for all the information. Sessions starting January, May, and September of 2019, accepting applications for them all. I think there's only a couple spots in January, so you're going to want to hurry up if you want in that. You can follow me at Lance Storm on Twitter, and I will be appearing at WrestleCade in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, I believe it is, November 24th, I believe.
Holy smokes. And Filthy, he was talking to you when he was talking about going to train with him.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
saying.
I need it. So
Yeah. What have you got coming up?
that's a good question. I will be appearing in Herpestown, Oregon, this upcoming Friday, Brian, if you'd like to make the trip down. My plan is to interrupt King Cash's championship ceremony at Prestige Wrestling, but we'll see what happens. I'll be in attendance. I don't have a match signed as of this time. Next month, MLW, November 4th, I believe, at the Cicero Theater in, maybe the 8th. I have that mixed up. Whatever.
Excellent plug, Tom.
Oh, sorry. At the Cicero Theater in Chicago. That show, I believe, headlined right now by LA Park and El Hijo del LA Park
Wow.
versus Pentagon and Phoenix.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. I got to at least bring this up before we go since we're all here. I have not been talked to officially about any of this, okay? But many, many, many fans have been texting and tweeting about this. The idea of you, Tom, myself, and Lance in King of Trios next year. Tom, would you be interested in that?
100%.
Lance, would you consider that?
I won't rule it out 1,000%, but if someone out there wants to get me the Shawn Michaels payday, I might be a little bit more interested in coming.
I haven't heard, but it's possible that the King of Trios next year could be in Saudi Arabia.
There you go.
Okay, so there's a chance.
There's always a chance.
All right. I just wanted to bring that up. I haven't heard anything. I could be retired by then, by the way. I plan on retiring before my 40th birthday, which is going to be coming up next June.
Oh,
so
I'm going to retire soon, too.
You're more than 40.
Oh, get out of here, Lance. Don't break kayfabe. Come on.
I'm about to retire, Brian. I just got an email today asking for my routing number for my bank because they found a long-lost relative of mine in Africa.
Really?
They need me to take care of his trust fund.
God damn. You better get on that right when we get off the air here.
Yeah, millions of dollars coming my way. From
At-
the great power Udi.
At Filthy Tom Lawlor. Well, he's not doing much right now. At Filthy Tom Lawlor on Twitter. At Lance Storm on Twitter. And that's it, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again after a while.